a great crowd. I'm so excited. So I just want to let you all know that I invited every candidate who's running for a seat on the city council or the mayor. I sent an email to them, and I just wanted to just talk about, first we have Debbie Loftman and Doc Larson, J.D. Claridge, he's here. Jeff Pulsifer is going to be here, but he will be late. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry, John Pulsifer and Doc Larson. I apologize. Okay, Amy Evans confirmed that she could not come. Kenny Gabriel confirmed he's not coming. Woody McEvers confirmed he was coming last week and was honored to come and speak, but late last night he said, "I'm sorry, I can't come." And I'm just wondering if he realized that he responded to this Republican women group instead of the other one. So I'm sure, because they're having a meeting at the same time we are, and so it was a shame, because I told him we were looking forward to having him come and speak. Kiki Miller did not bother to respond. Dan Gookin didn't bother to respond, and Bill Brooks didn't respond, which was kind of surprised me, because I was at a pachyderm meeting when his wife came up and said, "Bill didn't get the email." And so I pulled up my email and I said, went over and said, "Is this your email address?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I sent it to you." And he didn't say he was coming, but my email, when I invited everybody, it said only registered Republicans. So I don't know if the other people didn't respond because they weren't actually Republicans. I don't know. But anyway, I did send out another email to give them an opportunity, because we find that some candidates really go after us if we don't invite them. And so I sent it out again, and our candidates that are sitting here, they all responded again that they were coming. So I appreciate, that is all I have, and you're going to introduce them. Okay, thank you.
While our candidates are coming up, this is how this is going to work. They're each going to have about 8 minutes to speak, and they're going to speak from the riser. Last time we had from the podium, but when they speak from the podium, you can see everybody eating and stuff like that. Looks horrible on video. So we're going to leave them standing here, and they're going to speak in their 8 minutes, whether they want to sit or stand, it's up to them. And then after that, there'll be questions. Carla will have one half of the room, and Terry will have another half of the room. They will hold the microphone so that nobody monopolizes. People have a tendency to monopolize unintentionally the mics, unintentionally. But so this way here, we can move it along. Just take a minute to formulate your question and give your question, and then we'll have the candidates answer your questions. So with that, Debbie, we'll have you start. This is Debbie Loftman. She's running for mayor of Coeur d'Alene.
My name is Debbie Loftman. I'm a businesswoman running for mayor of Coeur d'Alene. In order to understand my qualifications, you have to know a little bit about my background. I was born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota, in a wonderful Baptist family. And in my 20s, I moved to a suburb of Sacramento, and I started a tenant screening company that grew to have 11 employees, and I sold 5 franchises out of the different states. I got a really good offer on it 10 years later, and so I sold it, got my real estate and broker's license, and I opened my own real estate and property management company. Property management is not the easiest business to be in. You're dealing with owners and tenants and vendors. And to get everybody cooperating is quite the challenge. And for the last 12 years in a row, my company won Best Property Management Company in my region, and that has never been done before. So it's done by diligent, making really good decisions, and caring about people. It's a problem-solving business. and I'm really good at working with different types of people. I'm married. I have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. In 2019, my daughter and son-in-law came to us and said, "Mom, we will not be raising our family in California. We're looking for a conservative city in a red state to move to." So they checked out Tennessee, I think they checked out South Carolina, and I think Florida. And when they came to Coeur d'Alene, my daughter called me, "Mom, pray, because I think we found it. I think we found where we want to live." And so I flew out, we prayed together as a family for the Lord's leading, and this is where we decided to move to as a family, as a group, to wonderful Coeur d'Alene, beautiful Coeur d'Alene. Why am I running for mayor? I want to be a voice for people who do not feel heard. I want to bring a Christian perspective to Coeur d'Alene government. I'm a servant. I have a servant's heart. And I'm doing this for my children and my grandchildren. Why would you vote for me? I want to work with the planning and zoning department to make sure that Coeur d'Alene grows responsibly and thoughtfully, that protects the small town character that we all know and love. I want to listen to the department heads and ask them what's working, what's not working. And I want to work with them really well. I'm a good problem solver, and I love people. I'm a huge supporter of our police and first responders. I want to make sure that they have the resources that they need to keep us all safe. The role of mayor is executive. It's not legislative like the council. It's a job of leadership. It's building a cohesive team. It's working well with all types of people. It's a representative of the city. And good leadership can lead to higher productivity in the city's departments. And as your mayor, I'll be a good representative. I'll be a good ambassador for all of you. A good leader is also involved in community, serving the community. And I want to tell you about a ministry that I have. I started it 7 years ago, and when I moved to Coeur d'Alene, I found other women that wanted to join me. It's called Grandmas to the Rescue. And we find women who maybe just had a baby or are overwhelmed in life. And we go in and we organize, we clean the kitchen, change sheets, we do laundry, any assistance that we can, so the mom feels that she has the tools to just make it. Because the truth is, the strength of our city is the strength of our families. With strong families, we can be a strong city, a strong state, and a strong country. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. One thing I forgot to tell everybody, Carla put a pen on all the members. This is for us winning the Diamond Award. So it's our thank you to us. Now I'm going to introduce J.D. Claridge, and he is running for City Council, Coeur d'Alene City Council.
Thank you. I am J.D. Claridge. Been living here in North Idaho for about 20 years. Previously in Sandpoint. We've been in Coeur d'Alene for quite some time, over 10 years, I think. And I'm a family man. I have married to my beautiful wife, Kara, who's also my campaign manager. I have to pay her well for that job. She does great. And then we have 5 kids together. And I'll talk a little bit about myself. I'm not really a career politician. I did run one other time for city council 4 years ago. Didn't win, unfortunately, but I'm back at it again. And so but I have experience in business, like Debbie. I have a business in town that develops drones. So we design and manufacture drones for various applications, and been at that for about just had 11 years. The company's called Xcraft. But my background is aerospace engineering, and I started out working jobs throughout aircraft manufacturing, full-size aircraft. So my last real job before starting Xcraft was at Quest, which is in Sandpoint. It's now Kodiak Aircraft, and did avionics and electrical engineering for them, for that program. So, but I saw the opportunity forming around drones, and I've always been an airplane nerd, and always been into RC airplanes and everything. So I just decided to start a company with a co-founder there in Sandpoint, and kind of took off once we were able to get started. And I was able to get on Shark Tank, early on. That was about, well, it was a while ago, 6 years ago maybe. And that was quite an experience. It was myself and my co-founder, and I actually flew a drone onto the set and landed it in front of the sharks and gave my pitch. And on TV, we got a deal with all 5 sharks. I won't go into details, but yeah. That was a pretty exciting experience. It kind of launched the company to a whole nother level. So that's been my focus. That and my family definitely has been my focus for my career. But I decided to run for city council because like Debbie, I see the need for godly people to rise up and get into these positions of influence, because at least on our current city council, that's not really there. And we've got, so my platform slogan is Elevate Coeur d'Alene. So I'm kind of an engineering nerd. The elevation of the land up here on the north side of I-90 is actually about 200 feet or so higher than the ground downtown. So I want to represent the people that are more toward this side, at least those values, which are more family friendly. A lot of them are church-going folk, and they don't like what's happening in our town and a lot of the things that have been happening. And so I want to be a voice for those people, because I don't think that voice currently is there. So I believe in traditional family values. That's very important to me. I actually grew up in Spokane, so we would come to Coeur d'Alene quite often. My mom would bring us here to City Beach in the summertime, and we would, swim. And I remember seeing the resort actually be built, and watching the big cranes, and I'm getting flashbacks now. Because I've seen, all the cranes around downtown. And I think our current city council is definitely, it seems, in favor of that kind of development. High-rise, bringing people in here that have part-time homes in this area, but they're not really about really providing housing for families. And in the new development that's happening, I want to make sure that as much as possible that new development is the kind of development that supports families. Things like, I want to see a lot of single-family homes, not a lot of high-density, apartments. I want to see parks and trails and those kind of things that draw families. I think that if we draw families to this region, that's going to strengthen our community. Families do strengthen. I also have seen, as I've lived in Coeur d'Alene for the last 10 years or so, I've seen a lot of, I would call it unnecessary surveillance that's been popping up in our town. We need traffic cameras, and I'm definitely in support of our police. but I've seen a lot of license plate readers and other security cameras, surveillance cameras that have popped up. And I don't, we live in a free state and a free town. And the idea of being surveilled all the time, and they're talking about adding, microphones downtown to deal with the noise mitigation. And that's a little concerning to me because I could be walking downtown with my wife, Kara, and potentially our private conversation could be recorded by someone who has access to that. So that's another concern of mine. So I know that my opponent, Kiki, has been very strong about housing, but she talks a lot about worker housing. And having a drone company, we've done manufacturing in China. We don't anymore, but we have. And I've been to China several times. And in China, they have worker housing. Factories are actually basically cities. And all the workers live there at the factory, and that's their worker housing. So I hope that's not what Kiki has in mind. But I think I want to support not only workers, but families, people that live here full time. I mean, a lot of workers come and they build something and then they leave. So I want to make sure that we're building a community that supports families. I also want to uphold the biblical definition of marriage, and that's something that, right. It's something I've not seen on any of our current city council mention, maybe off the cuff, but definitely the kinds of things that have been happening in our town don't reflect that. And I want to make sure that we're supporting that and upholding that as much as possible on city council. So that's pretty much all I have. I do want to mention, this was a little bit of a last minute decision for me to run. And so we haven't really put together everything, although we're starting to get things in order. But I will mention, we have not put together our financing for this to be able to do this. So we do have places that you can donate money if you feel so called. I think it's going to cost at least $10,000 to be able to run this campaign. So far we have a little, but certainly not all of that. And then also I want to mention I have my signs at the back. If any would like to take signs and put them in your yard, I would be honored. Thank you.
Thank you, JD. And now I'm going to introduce Doc Larson, and he's running for Coeur d'Alene City Council.
Hello. I was told I was allowed to be somewhat funny. I'll try. I can't guarantee results. So one of the things that I've come across is that a lot of you don't know me, mostly because I've been in the basement of the Innovation Collective with my office, heads down doing business stuff for the last 6 years. However, I figure it'd be a good idea to give you a little bit of background of who I am, where I came from, and why I'm running for city council. So I'll start at the beginning. I was born in Canada. Don't worry, I escaped unscathed. I joined the United States military as a combat medic, and then I laterally transferred to preventive medicine, and then I was a lab tech, and then I wound up in counterintelligence. Yes, it's an oxymoron. I did that active duty for 14 years. In 2001, I was nominated and selected for the United States Army Soldier Show. So I got to do comedy and singing for the troops all over the world. That was pretty cool. 14 years active duty, and then I got out on a medical. That's a whole other story for another time. But I did private contracting for a while. I have 7 overseas tours, 1 in Korea, 2 in Germany, 2 in Iraq, 2 in Afghanistan. The 2 in Afghanistan, I was working specifically with special forces, solving problems. That was fun and interesting. Lots of stories there, but not for here. In my last tour in 2016, my girlfriend, now wife, sorry ladies, she got a call from my mother and my stepfather, where my stepfather was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and they had moved up to Hayden 18 years ago. So she, as my, I need to stress this, girlfriend, moved us up here from Arizona So obviously I had to marry her, right? And since then, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I'm here in this wonderful, beautiful, amazing place. I worked temporarily at Kootenai Health as a security officer. And then one day, through a very bizarre series of events, I met my two colleagues. Then we formed a cybersecurity artificial intelligence company. And that went on for about 3.5 years. Got institutional funding, filed patents. It was pretty cool. It was a great experience. I learned a lot, and from that experience I started Pantheon Business Development Group, which basically is like a consulting gig. One of the things I've noticed is that engineers and AI entrepreneurs, especially the young ones, are absolutely brilliant, but they're not so good at the business side of things. So I would help them out build out their infrastructure for the company so they had a fighting chance. And recently, July 1st, a friend of mine, some of you might know her name is Joni Moore. She is the CEO of Snacktivist. She spun up another company called the Rhizosphere. And she goes, Doc, you're gonna be my COO. And I said, okay. So I've been doing that fractionally, so I've got 1.5 jobs. And then, about a month ago, this is how the story goes anyway. I was in a bad mood, and a friend of mine said, yeah, look at all the people running for city council. And I said, how come there's no one running for this position? Seat 2. And they're like, oh. I'm like, that does not stand. So I asked a friend of mine who's much more politically savvy than I am, not a politician, more of an army knuckle dragger. And I said, what do I need to do? And he's like, oh, you need to go here, 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 do this, play that, da, da, da. And I'm like, okay. So with 3.5 hours left on the clock, I threw my hat in the ring. And boy, have I learned a lot in the last month. So we'll put a hard stop on there, and I'll get into the platform stuff. So first and foremost, term limits. I believe Robin Williams was quoting Mark Twain when he said, politicians and diapers need to be changed often and for the same reason. So I think 2 terms is good for most people, and then you start getting issues with special interest groups and you start getting complacent and you're lacking new and inventive ideas. The other thing that I started doing was research. As a former counter-intel guy, I do a lot of research. And the more I peeled back the onion on what's been going on and what is going to be coming down the pipe, kind of scared me a bit. I'm not scared of much, but when you can't balance a budget, that's going to be a problem. So, what I have found out is, and this is not to scare anybody, but people, I'll use the term loosely, have known about some of these problems with the budget since 2016 and haven't done a lot to circumvent it. I would like the opportunity to circumvent that so that this place doesn't wind up looking like Seattle or Portland. That's my 2 cents on that. How to do that are twofold. One of which is, unfortunately, we have to get our state legislators involved to change some rules that are on the books. There's a 10,000 population cap where we can't get, and I've heard a lot of different names for it, bed tax or a door tax for hotels. That would solve a lot of problems very quickly. And the other one is implementing emerging technologies to make things more efficient and save money for the budget. Now, I do agree with JD 100%. I'm not talking about surveillance or smart city stuff. What I'm talking about is more on the lines of putting together solar and using that to, sell back to the grid, and then offsetting the budget. Things like that. There's technologies out there that we can use that are non-invasive. They're not going to steal your data, but they will actually bring other streams of revenue into the system, because what we're running into is the growth is starting to slow down. And a big chunk of that money that we get for the general fund comes from that. And I haven't heard any solutions yet on how to offset that before we get hit square between the eyes with a sledgehammer and have to start cutting things. And what's the first thing that starts going? Maintenance. And what's after that? First responders. And then, 2-3 years from now, we're gonna look like downtown Seattle. So, that's my platform. That's a little bit about me. I'm fun at parties. I like to sing. I'm a really good cook. It's probably why my wife married me. And I'm open to all the questions you may have. So thank you very much.
I don't see John Pulser here, but I don't know what he looks like, so. Okay, David, are you texting him, David? Okay, so while we're waiting for him, we'll start taking questions. And Terry, you're gonna take one half of the room, Carly, you're gonna take the other. I think Rory got us two mics.
Want me first? Mr. Larson, could you please elaborate a bit more on this budget problem and why you think we end up looking like Seattle?
Sure. So, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the state decided to slap some budgetary restrictions on us. Instead of capturing 100% of new growth, we can only do 90%. There's this really cool formula that I was showed on how all this works as far as the money we can capture. And the people that have been on council, from my understanding, have known about this since 2016. And one of the things, I know no one here is in favor of raising taxes, property taxes. I get that. We should exhaust everything else before doing that. However, they didn't have any other options and they didn't raise property taxes to coincide with increasing budget. And now we're running into this brick wall to where I would argue next year, if we don't have any really new and inventive ways to come up with revenue for the budget as growth slows down, it's gonna get worse and worse. We're gonna run into more and more difficulties paying for the services that you all and I know and love. You know, clean parks, water treatment, first responders, all that good stuff. And what I mean by Seattle is if you look at history, when you have a group of people making decisions, or in this case, not making decisions to solve the problem before it becomes a problem, I think that's called proactive, you wind up playing catch up. And what happens when you start cutting different things like maintenance and first responders, I don't know if you guys are aware of the statistics, but this is like the lowest crime rate ever. And that's definitely due to the deterrence of having police everywhere, and I like that. I don't like, you know, some of the things that I've seen in Spokane or Seattle or Portland where people can walk around get mugged all the time, defecating on the street. And that is definitely due to the number of police we have and how trained they are. So obviously a big supporter of Leo.
We're packing too.
You're packing too?
Girl.
Don't make her angry. So yeah, historically speaking, what happens once you start cutting those services, the worst of humanity starts coming out because there's nothing to deter them. So very quickly, and I would say arguably 3 years, you would see a lot of the problems that started off in Spokane and Seattle and Portland, and probably 5 years and we're gonna live like that, unless we can make sure that we're supplementing our budget.
Same question. Okay, this question is for JD, and I just want to ask if you could fix one thing in Coeur d'Alene, what would that be? What's your top priority?
Wow, narrow it down to one. I think the main thing for me is just we're missing a godly perspective. Right. So that would be a vote us in. Yeah. That is something that we don't have, and you know, this tragedy that happened on Canfield, we didn't see anybody on city council or the mayor stand up and say, you know, ask for God's help, work direction, or anything like that. And that was a terrible tragedy, and it was, you know, the national spotlight was on this town. That would have been an awesome opportunity. And so that's probably the number one thing that I would change.
Hi, my name is Bianca. I have a question for Debbie, I'm sorry. The current mayor failed to protect me when I was 16 years old while I was under his employment. He continued to employ a convicted felon while he was under work release after assaulting me. As an employer and as a future mayor, will you put safeguards in place to protect our CDA families and minors in the workforce?
That's a real tragedy. I'm sorry about that. That would not happen under my watch. I've worked with a lot of employees, and it's important to screen them, to vet them, make sure that they're good people and aren't gonna do things like that. So yeah, I'm so sorry that happened. That won't happen under my watch.
So I'm pretty appalled about the HREI getting their contract renewed after they haven't paid their lease for 7 years. And the city is out that money. So if you become mayor, could you make that unhappen?
I know you're paying $1 a year. What is that about? That's not right. One of the really good things about a fresh face and fresh ideas is I don't have any special interests. I don't have any, I haven't burned any bridges. I shouldn't have any enemies. Maybe I will in the future. But, no, that's gonna stop. That's gonna stop. They have to pay their fair share.
What is it? What was that?
It's the Human Rights Institute. They're the ones out of downtown, and they haven't paid their rent for 7 years. So the city is all out that money. I know there are some restrictions to how that building should be used, but it seems like we can figure out how to get money with those restrictions. That seems to be the job of the mayor and the city council should be.
I'll ask a question for all the candidates. How do you feel about drag queens in our city parks? Do you support it or not?
Well, I would say I don't support drag shows in our public parks, for sure. I think that, unfortunately, current city council really said nothing about that, and several of the city council members were actually present at that event in support. And so I think that, that goes back to what I was talking about. There's really no godly perspective on city council. I want to represent the people that do look to God for their strength. And I don't think that is currently represented on city council. I think that unfortunately a lot of hurt has come out of that event and division, and we just don't need that. I mean, this is a town full of families, and that really was a lot of outside influences that brought that in, and we just don't need that. Our town is better than that, so that's what I say.
Again, protecting our families, protecting our children. It's number one.
So, short answer, no. But I'm gonna science you a little bit on this one too, just so you understand. The people that are in question, the trans community, they have a psychological condition called dysmorphia. I don't hate them, I just want them to get help, okay? The second part of that is special interest groups. I don't think the city council should be, there should be no special interest groups that affect city council, period, right? And let me give you a different perspective. Anytime that you need to have more police presence because you're worried about that group potentially being attacked, that to me is already a problem. It's a security issue. I mean, look, my background, right? It's a security issue. And if you think that you need to have more police presence, then maybe those people shouldn't have that rally where they're having that rally. Now, if they want to pay for their own security, it is not illegal, but again, we come down to the moral issue, right? And that's the problem that city council is going to run into in the future. It is a moral issue, it's not a legal issue.
Thank you all for coming and being here, I appreciate it. The Coeur d'Alene Police work for the city council. And we've seen anecdotally and actual evidence that their enforcement policies seem to have two different flavors. One if you're in on the liberal side and one if you're on the conservative side. We saw that at NIC where they refused to take steps to restore order when there were disruptors at the meeting. We saw that at the KCRWF Town Hall, where they actually arrested the people who were trying to keep the peace instead of the people that were disturbing the peace. So the question for all three of you candidates are, will you have a policy of equal enforcement for the Coeur d'Alene Police Department?
Absolutely. Should our police be political? Or should they protect all people equally across the board? Yes.
I think that there's certain alliances that exist right now on city council between our police chief and city council that have kind of set that into motion, and if we get a better mayor in position, the leadership at the police department can definitely be changed. And yeah, I think I support I support our police 100% as well as our sheriff, and I think they're doing good work. We don't need politics to enter this.
So if the question is, should there be a policy for fair play, is what I'm looking at here, I'm gonna say no, and here's why. They shouldn't have to have a policy. It's very simple. If you're law enforcement, everybody's the same, should be treated the same. And if there is any discrepancies, then those specific people, all the way up to the chief, need to be in a conversation as to why things are the way they are. There's always two seats. There's always two opinions about things. There's always going to be their truth, the other people's truth, and the truth. And to get to the bottom of that is a conversation. But no, there should not be a policy dictating that kind of thing. It should already be in place, just because of the nature of their job.
That's true.
I'm not sure if you're aware, on Sunday at the Coeur d'Alene Library, there is a group that's meeting to educate and legalize medical marijuana. It's called the Idaho Tour, and they're meeting on Sunday at a room in the CDA library. So what is your stance on legalization of CDC?
Sorry, excuse me.
Okay, we'll answer this question, then we'll give you a chance to talk, John.
The answer is no, it should not be legalized. There's a lot of information out there one way or the other, as far as if it's good or bad for you, if it would be prescribed for you or not. That's up to you and your doctor at the end of the day. But no, you should not have recreational drugs. And I can use every example in the book out there. Look at Portland is the best one. The moment they did that, I mean, good grief. And then you've got cops in Spokane, for example, that are walking around with like 18 shots of Narcan. I don't know how that helps the problem. So no, short version.
Well, I'll just say, no, I don't believe in legalization of marijuana in our state. I think there's plenty of options for people who want to do that close by. And I do think it leads to other harder drugs for sure, so I'm not in support of it.
I agree with both of them.
There you go.
Okay, I don't even know you, so nice to meet you. So this is John Pulsper, and he's running for mayor of Coeur d'Alene, so let's give him a hand. Take about 5 minutes to tell us who you are and whatever you want.
Perfect, thank you. I've prepared some remarks for you today. First of all, thank you for having this forum. I think the fact that we can all be here today is a representation of the wonder that our country is, how great America is, that we can gather together in spaces like this and discuss our country, our city, and the laws that we have. So let me share with you just a few things. So I didn't realize there were going to be men here, so that's good too. I thought it was a women's organization, but glad we're inclusive here. So it's an honor to be with you here today. I know this group is made up of men and women who are full of faith and care deeply about your family and the future of our community and our country. And that's exactly why I'm running for mayor of Coeur d'Alene. I'm not a career politician. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, a local business owner. And I've had the blessing of serving families in this community for nearly 20 years. I know what it means to raise a family here, to sign the front of a paycheck, and to live with the consequences of City Hall decisions. Some have said experience matters, and I agree, but character and leadership also matter. I've spent nearly 2 decades leading a local company with local workers and local clients. I've learned how to build teams, make tough decisions, and keep people accountable while still treating them with respect. That's the kind of leadership I will bring to City Hall. Here's what I believe. I believe government should be limited, transparent, and accountable. The taxpayers should not be an ATM. I believe citizens, not bureaucrats, are the heart and strength of this city. We are facing a budget shortfall of nearly $2 million this year in the city of Coeur d'Alene. And that's after raising property taxes the maximum amount. So instead of relying solely on the homeowners here, as mayor, I will work to ensure that visitors, tourists, help fund the services that they enjoy, the streets, the parks, the lake, our first responders. And that's just common sense. Coeur d'Alene should not balance its budget on the backs of hardworking families. I also believe the importance of law and order. Our first responders need the tools, training, and support to keep our community safe. That includes innovative ideas like we need to connect the people in the community with the city staff. So one idea I have is to create a chaplain corps, which will help support first responders in times of emergency. When a police officer arrives to a crime scene and somebody is deceased, they have to figure out what happened. Should they also be responsible for notifying the family members of those who have died? We're putting a big burden on our first responders by doing that. So I want to share something else with you. I'm not accepting donations for my campaign, and I'm not going to accept the salary of mayor should I be elected. Why is that? Because this is about public service. I feel like I'm the right person at the right time to make a difference in our city. And that's one reason why I've come here today. I committed early to Terry. Terry asked me about a month ago if I would come, and I said, absolutely, I would love to be there because all of your votes matter. And even though there's a fracture in the Republican Party in our area right now, it's like there's 2 Republican parties. Tell me, how does that make any sense? It doesn't make sense. We're one city, we're one community, and we need to have common sense solutions that aren't based on disagreements. So my campaign is built on 3 promises. First, I'm going to inform citizens honestly about what's happening at City Hall. I'm going to engage citizens directly, creating opportunities for them to serve alongside city workers. And imagine this. So I was walking the other day down Front Street, and there's a bench with wooden slats. And one of the wooden slats is broken, and the stain is wearing away. Imagine if there's a place online you can see that that bench needs to be fixed, and your youth group from church could get together, get the materials, and fix it. Then every time I walk by that bench with my son, my 11-year-old son, he can say, Dad, we fixed that. That's my bench. This is my city. Imagine that. Imagine citizens being engaged like that. That is what makes a difference when all of us are engaged and we're not depending on government to do things that we can do. So, engage citizens, unburden taxpayers by relying on tourists. And finally, I'll just say, this is the best city, in the best state, in the best country in the world. And we can't mess it up. We have to do a minor course correction. We don't need to throw away everything at City Hall. We just need to make it about 2% better. And realistically, I believe I'm the person to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. So we just continue on with questions, because we extended our stay here till 1:30, so.
I have a question for Doc Larson. First, thanks for your service. Because of medics, I've got 2 legs. So you've always been some of my favorite people.
Thank you, sir.
The question back to the budget, seems like the city of Coeur d'Alene, they want something, they go out and buy it, and then don't have money for it. What can you do? What kind of a process does it take to stop that kind of stuff?
Well, the process stops when you get people that are elected into that position that understand fiscal responsibility. Call me crazy. And that comes with a lot of planning. Now, I'm not going to make any bones about this. The stuff with the budget is very complex. It really is. It's not like just line items. I've tried to decipher it a few times. There's people at the city that are amazing at this, and they've even come up with the same cautionary tales and problems. So I would say first of all, get with the smart people in the room to figure out what you can do and what you can't do. And then look at the historical things that have been done, especially in the last 6 to 7 years, and then figure out the impact that's going to be having on us if we can get elected, because we would like to get elected, to solve those problems. And then from there, we can make a plan that actually makes sense, that will incorporate all of the first responders being taken care of without raising taxes on the taxpayers.
Hello, this is for the Pulsifer.
Do you want to get it with the microphone?
This party here says that they're Republicans, and then you say there's a fracture in the other Republicans. My question is, do you see the other Republicans as Republicans?
I imagine anybody who says they're Republican is Republican. In my mind, I think there should be a huge tent. If anybody who says they're Republican, great. Like, are there things that we're gonna disagree about? Yes. And that's okay. Like, we're not gonna all think and vote the same way. I think it's a tragedy. Like, I used to do this. You get the card in the mail and it's like, oh, we're supposed to vote this week. I don't know who any of these people are. Thank goodness this paper came in the mail, because now it's Republican, so I'll just vote and do what they tell me. Am I not doing a disservice to my city, to my state, and to my country if I just take somebody else's word for it? I mean, I've met the vetting committee, very nice, wonderful people. I've met Brent Regan, nice man. I have nothing bad to say. However, God has given each of you an intellect and a mind and passions and desires to decide what is important to you. So running for mayor is not a partisan position, and I will not, as mayor, say, well, Brent, you're coming to me, you're Republican, so of course I'm gonna approve your request to develop this piece of land. I'm not gonna look and take into account what political party any citizen has. I'm gonna treat everybody as equal, and I will uphold the Constitution of Idaho and the Constitution of the United States. So let us look at people. Let us look at what they want to do. Let us look at who they are and work together. Because really what makes our city and state great is not people driving around with big flags and banners behind their trucks. What makes it great is the fact that we can do that. If we disagree with some of the opinions, that's okay.
So I have a question. Do you think downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you change? I've been here 36 years. We avoid downtown like the plague anymore. Thank you.
Jamie, who do you want that for? Or anybody?
Anybody or all.
I'll give a short answer. Okay. Downtown, I love downtown. We moved to be downtown so we could walk to the library, the restaurants, the shops. I would like to see a little more entertainment options, a little less bars. I don't drink alcohol personally, so, and even this week we're in a meeting with other city leaders and constituents saying the bar crowd is kind of rough. So I think we can make it better for sure. I'd like to see it improve.
As I walk around and talk to people in Coeur d'Alene, the cranes downtown are absolutely, they just discuss them. They say that's too many, too fast. It's growing too fast, too high. And I'm for new buildings, I'm for a height limit so that we don't end up looking like New York.
We live in a beautiful place. The lake is an amazing asset here, and people want to come here from all over the country, all over the world. I actually enjoy going downtown. I do. It's beautiful, the lake, park. I think that we do have that asset, and we should lean into that asset, actually. That's something that a lot of towns don't have, is that ability to draw in visitors and, bring in money for our town, for our community. So I'm in support of not necessarily more development downtown, certainly not more high-rise buildings, but preserving the character of downtown and also leaning into the tourism side.
So if the question is healthy, fiscally, yeah. Socially, I think we've got a lot of really good protection when it comes to the police being around, so your kids can go run in the park and you don't have to worry too much about it. Am I a big fan of the high rises? Not so much. Definitely needs to be height limits, I agree with that one. And I will say that the traffic sucks. And there's no way to get around that. I'm sorry, it's one of those like impossible missions. There's no way to fix that. I mean, it fixes itself during the winter months because all of the tourism goes away, but no, I'm not a big fan of the traffic downtown. So in general, I think, yes, downtown is a relatively healthy place. It is very well protected. There's lots of room for improvement, there always is, but generally speaking, yeah, it's not, I like walking around downtown.
Oh, since I'm right here, I'll just stop at Bill.
So there's been a lot of talk from people about growth and how to control it, and the deficit and how to get more money. So there are a couple ideas from floating around that require interaction with the state legislature. So one is a local option tax, what we call a bed tax, which you can pick for any project and then impose that on tourists. But that will require some changes at the state level. Another one is the zoning laws, and when you talk about controlling growth responsibly, it always starts with the comp plan and the zoning laws and all those meetings that they have. And so there are certain restrictions in the zoning laws that allow for minimum lot sizes. And some of those minimum lot sizes are really big.
What's your question?
My question is, can you work with state legislators to change the law so that you don't have to have more money to buy a bigger lot, so you can build a smaller house and a new family can afford to get a new house in Coeur d'Alene, and plus the local option. So it's your plan for working with state legislators, how you're going to do that, and then how to get people more involved with the meetings that control that, like planning and zoning. It all starts there. People have to go to those meetings and make comments.
Who do you want to answer that, Bill? Anybody specific?
Debbie's got her hand up.
Who was that, sir?
Debbie's got her hand up.
Bill Green is my stable genius. I just love talking to him. He goes to every single meeting, and he knows everything that's happening in Coeur d'Alene. So I call him often. I call you often. Spend an hour on the phone with him. Okay, so affording infrastructure as we grow. I have an idea that I presented to Bill, and he already called our Senator Jace about it and talked to him about it. And when we work with our legislators, I think we can come up with a plan that doesn't raise property taxes for people. We're working on it, Bill.
I mean, we have some here right now, right? Mark, I believe you're one, right? You still serving us? Oh, county, darn it. Do we have anybody else? Any state legislators in here? What the heck? Why not? The KCRCC, I think, has promoted every one of them. Is that not true? So, look, you guys are the ones that helped get them elected. We need every single one of you to contact every single one of those people, because it will take a state law to make it happen. However, we can also work with the resort and other downtown local hotel property owners to voluntarily charge that fee and give it to the city. Will they do it? Maybe. We have some leverage as a city. The resort leases about 400 feet of dock space from the city, and it's a pretty sweetheart deal. But if they want to play hard, we can play hard. I don't think we'll need to. But the other thing is short-term rental property. You talk about housing availability. Short-term rentals take up a lot of downtown, and it costs $180 every year to keep that permit. $180 to keep that house from being a long-term rental and allowing a family to rent it. So if we work with the fees on short-term rentals, maybe some people say, you know what, this doesn't pencil so well anymore. Maybe we'll sell our house or we'll turn it into a long-term rental. That will help the housing crisis a lot.
So I definitely agree with the idea of reducing the minimum lot size. I am very much in support of single-family homes. So even if that's on a small lot, I remember my wife and I getting our first house, and it was a small house on a little lot, but it was ours. And so I think I want that, and I think that as we draw families who come into those single-family homes, it's going to strengthen our community.
I gotta stand up or I'm not gonna be able to later. So there's two questions I heard, one with state legislation and one with the housing issue. State legislation, I would definitely put all of our state legislators in one room, and anything short of putting a nail gun against their feet to keep them there until things are resolved can ask nicely. But they're the ones that are eventually gonna have to change the laws or make amendments or addendums to already existing laws to fix things when it comes to the taxes, and it's a very convoluted issue. There is no easy answer, but I think if we get everybody in the same room, we could probably come to some solutions. Now, as far as the housing thing, that's straight up math. I don't claim to be one of those mathematician people, but there's only so much room left to build in the greater Coeur d'Alene area. And density is an issue, and the more density you have, the more parking issues you have. It's a complex issue. Now, I am a firm believer that yes, we should definitely take a hard look at making starter homes for young couples, young families, and they're gonna be a lot smaller, and therefore the lot sizes are gonna be probably smaller. But we have to do it as long as the infrastructure supports it, which some people are just gonna leave off sometimes. But we have to think about everything all at once if we're gonna action that. And the other one that I have, and I don't have a solution for this, but let's say you build a whole bunch of starter homes for young families. What's to guarantee that they get to buy it? Because somebody could come in that's got deep pockets and buy them all up and turn them into rentals. So we have to really think things out before we come to a conclusion on exactly how we're gonna zone things, how we're gonna work with the density issues, and get affordable housing to the people that need it.
So can I ask a question? Well, maybe it's a statement. All positions, every position is partisan. I hear a lot that people say that these are nonpartisan positions and we shouldn't be going, Republicans or Democrats shouldn't even be saying anything. But that is why Coeur d'Alene was run by Democrats for so many years, because we didn't get involved with the elections, and so every position is partisan.
Catherine, do you have a question?
Yes.
I just-
My question is, all of you, is about the additional boat docks being built on the river. I don't know if you know about Atlas, that's building high rises, and they want to put 25 additional boat docks that will be public or private to the people who live there. In addition, we've got the 75 at Reed's Ferry, and another 125, I believe, in Templin's boat docks that will put the more boats onto our river. The city does have control over some of the private or the public boat docks, in reference is the ones in front of Riverstone, which seems to be a problem that nobody seems to know how to fix. So I'm just wondering how you all feel about that.
Well, first and foremost, that's the first I've heard of it. So I'm gonna have to go do some research on that. And I'll have to get back to you. I'll be brutally honest. I didn't know that that was even a problem. So, yeah, I'll have to look into that one.
I heard about it. I heard it was 100 new. 225 new boat slips on the river. Okay, that's not okay. That definitely needs some pushback and some people on the city council to say, wait a minute, no. Oh, that's both, yes, on the river there.
There's a total 225, those falls, some are in.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of half and half.
The river is a mess, and I think that eventually home values are going to suffer. People aren't going to want to buy on the river because it is so crowded, it's dangerous. It needs to be addressed. I think most of it is outside of the Coeur d'Alene city limits, so as mayor, I would weigh in any way that I can, but it definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah, Lori, and then we'll get,
I'm a retired nurse, and I've been up here several years now, and I'm seeing an older population here, and I see lots of problems that are going to come up in the future. We don't have enough doctors, mid-levels, PAs, nurse practitioners, dentists. Plus, you're talking about supporting the first responders and the fire department when we're going to need more of them without increasing taxes. I don't see how this is all going to work. Please enlighten me.
So when you said support, what did you mean? Are you talking about the chaplain thing or just paying for the fire and police?
Yeah, we're trying to get more fire department down in Worley area because there's such a huge population coming in Black Rock and all of that area. So we're trying to get more firefighters down there, but Kootenai's stretched really tight. You know, Athol's blowing up, Rathdrum is blowing up. We're gonna need more firefighters. We're gonna need more police. We're gonna need a bigger jail. Do you guys have plans for that?
Yeah, so the city currently with this next fiscal year that just started yesterday, they are already hiring more police and fire people. And of course the budget is more than the revenue accounts for, so it's using reserve dollars. If we keep up at this rate, there will be no reserve dollars in a few years. So that is a problem. That's one of the challenges of growth, and not to throw the state legislators under the bus, but what the city is saying that it's the state legislators who changed the law for how new growth can be taxed. And so the city is getting a lot less revenue from the new growth. Based on what the city finance director said, we are looking at several years of increased property taxes, the levy, not the taxes. Taxes will go up. I think this year they raised it 3%, which is the max, plus 1% of foregone. And that's going to be about $12 for a $500,000 home, like $1 a month. And $1 million home is going to be 5 times or double that. But so we're going to have to pay more. We still need responsible growth, and we have to tap into these other sources like through tourism. So we really need to work closely with our state partners.
we have a few questions out there. Karen.
I just want for you all to be aware of what's going on with the Coeur d'Alene Public Library. And they are completely disregarding the new law that was passed back in July of 2024, the Children's School and Protection Library Act. And this is to protect the children age 17 and under from sexually explicit material in the section. And not to be banned, but just to be moved out of the children's section and relocated elsewhere. And I have submitted at least 4 books for them to review for relocation that, according to the Protection Act, is harmful to minors. And every time it got denied. And so I want you to know that I have talked with the director, the library director, and she basically said that she goes with the clients in Coeur d'Alene, what are the people that live here, what they want. And I asked her, I said, what about the law? And that was just kind of danced around. And so it's you guys that will appoint the Board of Trustees. In Coeur d'Alene, they are not elected. They are appointed. And some of you have expressed that you want a godly perspective. And right now, the children's section at the Coeur d'Alene Public Library is not safe for our children. None of the books have been relocated. They stand on, I think it was a law passed in the 70s, that the way I understand it is that the state law trumps what was done by the Supreme Court in this one case. And what they stand on is if the whole of the book has any literary, artistic value, then that book stays in the children's section. So you could have several pages, or you could have a paragraph of an unhealthy content of grooming LGBTQ, or of sexual relationships, homosexuality. I mean, these are stuff that is listed in the law that is considered harmful to minor children. And because it's not the whole book, then it stands.
What do you want to have answer that, Karen?
So I want Debbie and JD and Dr. Larson. I don't know if you have any godly values that you want to make sure that is brought to Coeur d'Alene. Don't know.
That's a huge issue. I would absolutely support moving anything sexually explicit from the children's section. In our homes, we don't put medicine where children can access it because we want to protect them. And I'm very, very strong on that. So thank you. Our library is beautiful, but it needs prayer. It needs a prayer. It needs a cover.
I think the answer is pretty simple. We need a new library board. My wife and I have definitely been involved in that struggle, and we see the same thing. And my heart goes out to you. Our own daughter found not a great book in the children's section of the library, and we were definitely in support of that law, and I'm thankful that it's passed. And if they're not following the law, they should lose their jobs.
So you probably can't tell from there, but my blood pressure is going up when I hear that stuff. It's very simple. There's a law, follow the law, right? That's the end of it. There should be no more discussion about this kind of thing. So that's kind of where my stance is. It's very simple.
Ruby, and then this will be the last question unless somebody else has something important to say that again, and Terry.
Did John want to answer the?
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
Oh,
Yeah, let me answer.
So I'm absolutely a person of faith, and I raise my children. I have 4 boys, and I teach them to respect women. Pornography is one of the worst scourges in our lifetime, and probably, I don't know, thousands of years. Like, pornography degrades women, it degrades men, it changes the expectation of what healthy sexuality should be. And I wish that pornography was not available at all. Having said that, unfortunately, my boys have regardless of, we've gone to so many extremes to prevent them from being exposed to pornography. They say that children are exposed to pornography by age 7 or 8 on average now. It happens. And most of the time, it's not in a library. Most of the time, it's on a cell phone. And kids have cell phones, and there's great technology companies that are trying to prevent access. And we've used many of them with special cell phones that have limited access. But man, I tell you what, kids are smart and they're curious, and if they want to find something out, they're going to. I don't care if we move everything out of the library in a special section, like, they're gonna find something on their cell phone, and I don't know what to do. One thing we should do in Idaho, actually, is we should all band together to work with our state legislators to make it a law to where there's age verification for, if somebody wants to access a pornographic website, they have to put in an ID that shows their age. That would help.
So you're not really answering the question what you would do as mayor for the Coeur d'Alene Library.
So this woman over here has said that she has put into the library, I think this book violates the law. And I trust that the people in the library would look at that. And if it's not, if they're wrong, then it should be, I'm sure there has to be a legal process to figure that out. Because although I'm a person of faith, my neighbor may not be. And maybe their values are different than mine. Maybe my neighbor is, I shouldn't say my neighbor because I have neighbors.
We're talking about the children's section. Remember.
Yeah, children's section, yeah, children's section.
And it's being denied when the press is going in. that doesn't line up with the law.
Yeah, so there should be a legal recourse to have that corrected, right?
Yes.
What would you do as mayor? You
That's
have
what I'm-
control,
Yeah,
you have the control because the mayor appoints those people.
yeah, I'm telling you, so a public library is for the whole public. And if it's against the law, it should be removed. And if that's not happening, then is it against the law?
Okay, now we know. Okay.
Hi, I moved to Coeur d'Alene 7 years ago, I'm retired, and I'm in the heart of downtown. So I would like your opinions on how to address the noise factor in downtown. I live at the corner of 7th, and I'm in Parkside, a high-rise. So I go out on my deck, and from Friday night until Sunday night, I might as well forget being out there, especially in the evenings, because they get to 7th Street and the hot rods and the motorcycles, they blast it right below where I live, my deck. And at my age, I've had some health issues, and my only way outside sometimes is on my deck. So I'm thinking, I loved Coeur d'Alene when I moved here and everything, and I'm thinking it's taking away some of my enjoyment because there's no restriction on it. And there is a noise restriction. So how would each of you address that?
So the city has tried to do that. They've created the noise ordinance. There's a $300 fine for that. And hopefully it's better since then. I get it right in front of my house too, and it is annoying, it's frustrating. Aside from police officers constantly there ticketing people or having cameras, which nobody wants, I don't know what you do, that's hard.
So how many action tickets have been done since all?
That's a good question. I don't know how many tickets have been issued, but that is a good question. I have heard neighbors say it's gotten better, but that's a tough one. I don't know. Some problems, I don't know if they can be solved completely.
Enforce the $300 fine and start giving tickets, and you'll see it slow down. If people we need to enforce that $300 fine, a lot.
I agree that we have an ordinance in place and it should be enforced.
There's two parts to that. One, you can't deny the laws of physics. Unfortunately, the noise is a noise, and there's only one way to get rid of that, which is a deterrent. And we're going to follow the bouncing ball with being real quick. What is the deterrent for the noise? Police presence. So where does that money come from? General fund. So if you want the noise to go down, we have to figure out new ways to put more money in the general fund.
So we're going to start closing it up right now. So let's give a hand to all of our candidates. Thank you. One thing I want to say, and you've heard me say it before, when I look at my finances, I say, look how much money I'm saving by not running for office. Okay? So then I say, well, I'm going to give half of that money to the candidates I like. Now, thankfully, Dr. John's got the resources to fund his own campaign, but not everybody's in that position. So if you feel generous, we'd love to have you give some money to the people who want.